Great, great. One more biggie coming up. We're missing a few ladies. I guess they're drifting in. We're a little bit early. So, our next speaker, entertainer, love her to death, is Winona Dove. She, as I told you this morning, is from Castlewood originally, and she used to be my assistant here at the center. And great, great entertainer. She and Kelly entertained together, and Dove entertained as Dolly Parton, and you could not tell the difference in Dove's voice and Dolly Parton's. She is awesome. Right, Dove?
Oh, I don't know about that.
Hey, Dove, what time is it there?
Oh my goodness, it's 10 after 5 in the morning here. I've been up since 4 a.m.
So we got her out of bed. Let's see what she can do at 5 o'clock in the morning. I bet she's good, ready to go.
Well, ladies, I still got.
Let's get ready to rumble. Go, Dove.
Oh, is it me now? Am I on?
You're ready.
Okay, so hey, good morning, everybody. I'm so sorry. You're going to have to give me just 2 seconds here. Look, it's 5 o'clock in the morning, and my brain is not braining so good right now. I can just tell you. I had a couple of videos prepared for you this morning, and I've just heard from Nikki back at the Higher Ed Center that we're not sure that we're going to be able to play those videos just because the format wasn't correct. I do have one on my screen, and I am going to try to show you in just a few moments. I'm going to screen share and do that. But I am so excited to be back with you all, and this is kind of strange for me, right? Because not only the early hour, but also because I'm on Zoom and I can't see you, and I'm an entertainer. So I feed off of that interaction with the audience. So we're going to try to get through this morning as the best we can. So thank you all so much. Thanks to Penny for having me back again, and welcome into my inner sanctum and space. This is my office at home, and it's also my Reiki room, and it's my meditation room. It's where I have all of my good juju and my good stuff. So welcome, and thank you so much. Look, we're going to try to end the day just kind of on, I don't know if some of you were at the last conference there 2 years ago. And so we're going to kind of touch on a bit of what I talked about last time, but I've just had some really, the past 2 years really have just been very exciting and been a bit monumental for me and my growth. So we're going to just have story time, if that's okay. We're going to have a bit of story time in a little bit. So, one of the first things I had wanted to do is just kind of acknowledge the past year and everything that I know all of you have been going through. It's been crazy here in Australia as well. I don't know that any of us could have ever imagined or kind of foreseen anything in this magnitude happening across the planet. I'm stuck on a big island on the other side of the planet that I can't get off of. I can't leave. And, you know, it's been a year of tragedies for a lot of us. I know within my own family, we've lost quite a few people within our community and also family. So it's just been a year of stress and anxiety, but also it's been a few other things. And that's what I want to talk to you about, just kind of what that journey has been for me going through COVID, or as I've called it, the cave. I've been in the cave for the past year. So I do want to say, I would like to kind of dedicate today's presentation to a good friend of mine who was at this conference 2 years ago and who passed away and who I lost last year, Leah Kidd McCall. She was such a bright, shining, beautiful ball of energy and light, and I've known her since we were in high school and college together. And I think many of you may have known her from the work that she was doing up at the facility on the hill, the tourism facility. So I'd like to just kind of remember her and her bright ball of energy and what she meant to me. So what have I been up to while I've been in the cave? Okay, well, the first thing that happened this past year, ladies, y'all know about these, right? These are bifocals. Oh my Lord. Well, I'm sorry. They're not bifocals so much as they're multifocals, because, that's much more fancy than it would have been 50 years ago. So, people can't really tell that you're wearing your multifocals supposedly. So I do believe this morning I am going to have to latch on to the multifocals because I have made myself some notes. So that this runs a little more smoothly and I'm not just up here riffing because like I said, it's so strange not to be there with you and not be able to look into your beautiful eyes, you gorgeous goddesses, and feed off of that. So we will see how this goes, and I'm going to keep an eye on the time. I always do, because Miss Penny knows, and as my mother knows, that I have a gift for gab, as they say. So Lord knows, y'all just stop me after we get to the 4 o'clock, or is it 4 o'clock mark for you guys? It'll be the 6 a.m. mark for me. All right. So I did want to try, I'm going to see, I don't know if Nikki's still on the call or she's still monitoring. So what we're going to try first is I am going to try to share a video with you that I made, because one of the things that I've really been doing here for the last year is actually working on music. I've discovered this new passion for music, and who knew at 43? And we're going to talk about that. Who cares how old you are? Who cares if you're in your 40s, in your 50s, in your 60s? You still have the right, and you're still alive and you're still breathing, to go after your passions, right? So the first song I want to play for you is called Appalachian Oak. I'm looking because I've moved my camera, so I'm going to look back dead center. It's called Appalachian Oak, like the big oak tree. Appalachian women, I've discovered, are some of the most steadfast and courageous women I've ever seen. And this is true now that I live on the other side of the planet. There are beautiful people here. Don't get me wrong. People are beautiful everywhere. But there's just something about an Appalachian woman. They take a lot, and they take and they take and they take, and they also give and they give and they give. Like, they are just beautiful people. So this song, I wrote this 20 years ago and recorded it. I'm actually now producing music, and I've reproduced this song. I wrote the song. Oh, Connie says it's one of her. Oh, thank you, Connie. I hope you like my new take on it. Connie is one of the beautiful people who actually has one of my old CDs. Look, my old CDs, back in the day, I did 2 projects. And of course, when you're very young, and I was in my early 20s, I didn't know myself as an artist. There were things that I needed to work on. And though I was very proud of the songwriting on those 2 albums, vocally, I was just a hot mess. I was just a hot mess. And still sometimes today, I'm still a hot mess. But I've been finding myself, as you do. And I think I've found it a different way vocally. So this song I actually wrote for my mama, and for my mom, and for myself. Now, for those of you, I'll just touch very quickly, who were at the first conference 2 years ago when I spoke to you about manifesting your best life and how you work through all of the trauma that you have, and you don't allow that to create a victim. And so just very quickly, so my background, which we're not going to go into today because I've got so much other stuff to share with you. But that background was, I was born and adopted a couple of times, and had, a few moms and a few dads, and lived through sexual trauma and physical trauma and just all kinds of things. No biggie, right? So, but this song, when I finally found my forever family, this song's about my forever family. And there are lots of beautiful Appalachian strong women. In fact, we've lost most all of our family over the past 15 to 20 years, but beautiful Appalachian strong women So this song tells the story of my mamaw at first, and then it goes into a bit about my mom, and then it wraps up with how I'm a strong Appalachian oak, that I'm a strong woman, and it is based off of those archetypes and those representations that I had in my life. These beautiful women. So, Nikki, I hope you're on standby. So I'm going to play this video. It's just me singing the song. It's nothing special. Please note, we haven't finished mastering any of these tracks and things like that. So, the quality. So I'm going to screen share with you, and Nikki can tell me if the quality is bad. So Nikki, you or somebody can do it in the chats. Just let me know. And if it is, then we'll stop it and we'll keep going. So I'm going to screen share. Yep. Can everybody see that? Somebody tell me, let me know. All right.
We can see it.
Here it is. Oh, thanks, Nikki. There you go. See, I'm telling you, these Zooms make me just crazy nervous. Here we go. This is Appalachian Oak. And Nikki, you'll have to let me know. Yep. Born in 1914, her name Bonnie Melvin, Lynch River coal mining came. Come red-headed peddler, almost twice her age, offering a chance of escape. Alone in 1949, 6 children by her side, condemned to serve in a mountain factory, maybe till she died. But regardless of the strain, she felt deep in her back, all those hungry mouths she had to feed. She was an Appalachian Oak, like so many come before her, her mind and body drenched in mountain pride, to take our world, measure of her worth, an Appalachian Oak will survive. Yes, an Appalachian Oak will survive. Born in 1944 and fatherless by 5, the twin to a brother gave his life to a coal mine. She soon became a mother, and long forgotten wife to a husband full of rage and jealousy lies. She is an Appalachian Oak, like so many come before her, her mind and body drenched in mountain pride, to take on the world, a measure of her worth, an Appalachian Oak will survive. Yes, an Appalachian Oak will survive. In 77, I landed on this planet, knowing a prayer I did fly. With the odds stacked against me, they never broke my stride. An Appalachian Oak will survive. I am an Appalachian Oak, like so many come before
for me, my mind and body drenched in fountain pride, to take all the world, a measure of my worth. An Appalachian oak will survive. An Appalachian oak will survive.
All right, ladies. So there we go. So I want to dedicate that to all you beautiful Appalachian women out there. I know that all of you, whether you know it or not, or whether you realize it or not, but you're beautiful, shining examples everywhere you go. And it's by default, right? Because you're just fantastic women. All right. So we're going to launch in. I did have, I tell you what, I did have another video, but as Nikki and I discovered this morning, it just wasn't happening, right? So I've got a new single coming out. I've actually got a couple of projects in the works. So we're going to talk a little bit about kind of what's going on in my life, because I want to do this from kind of a storytelling perspective, because, you know, here's the thing. We can get preached at all day long, and we can be told this is the way and this is what you need to do, and I'm here to solve all your problems. Oh Lord, I ain't here to solve nobody's problems. I've discovered so much in the past year, really going into my cave. So I've decided today is going to be a bit more of a storytelling. It's going to be, here's what I've discovered and here's what I've been going through. So at the very least, you'll be maybe slightly or mildly entertained. And at best, you are going to discover maybe some new ideas about things. So I just ask that you keep a bit of an open mind, and be entertained or be a bit introspective, whichever way. So anyway, so this past year has been kind of just an explosion for me. Things have been opening up for me personally, and I have fallen back in love with music. You know, you think that music, or you think that entertainment, I always thought was a young person's game, right? And I know that all I felt in the early days, especially back when I was, you know, in my early 20s, and I moved to Nashville, it was tick-tock goes the clock. If you don't make it happen now, it's not ever going to happen. If you don't make it when you're 25, or definitely by the time you hit 30, woo, I don't even remember 30. That was so long ago. You know, then it's not going to happen for you. And this is a mentality that we have as humans, right? We think that, or we're trained to believe that we must accomplish and do, and it's a young person's game. And then when we're older, we sit back and we look at our accomplishments, and then we just, you know, wait in the rocking chair until it's time to enter the grave. Well, that's not true. That's not what it's about. And I think most of you probably know that too. That's why you're at a conference for empowering women, because I think that you're already on that steady trajectory anyway. So for me, I kind of had been in a bit of a creative rut for a few years, and I love music, and I have been performing the entire time, but that's not the same thing. Performing and having that love of performing and getting up is not necessarily the same thing as is tapping into your creativity and creating things. We are women, we create, you know, we create out of the womb, we create children. Like, we're amazing beasts, us ladies. We can do so many things. So I was kind of at that point. I really wanted to create. I wanted to get back into songwriting. I was a songwriter, been a songwriter for many, many years. But having the confidence, I lacked the confidence in that. And in fact, I lacked confidence in a lot of areas of my life, including even getting up and performing and that sort of thing. But I'm a very driven person, as you would have known from the last time you heard me speak. Boy, I'm a driver. I just drive, achieve. But anyway, so what I want to talk about today is this explosion of things that I'm into. I'm now producing music. So now that's a different story. That's actually, you know, producing the tracks and working with the technology and musicians and that sort of thing. So I've actually learned to do that. It's something that I've added to my bag of tricks, and it's really exciting because now it's allowing me from this from this space, because you can't see on the two sides of my computer. I've got my studio monitors. I actually moved over. There's a big black box sitting over here. It's huge. It's my vocal booth, and it was sitting behind me, but it looks like the black hole of Calcutta. So if I'd have left that up, you would have just seen this big black looming thing behind me. So I've got this space and I'm creating, but it didn't come easy. It didn't, and it was definitely not easy to get to this space. In fact, I had to be a warrior, and I'm going to tell you why. So I'm a cheating because I'm looking at my notes. Anyway, so what we're going to talk about, triggers and traumas. When I was with you all the last time, I talked about how we create our lives, and that no matter what we've been through and what our circumstances are, that you have two ways of looking at life, and that's your belief system in whether you're a victim or you're not a victim. Am I a victim? I'm not a victim. When you decide which of those categories you're in, it's life-changing. It's life-changing. So I have always tried to stay in the space of, I'm not a victim. I'm not a victim, and I'm in charge of my life. Now, that is true, and I've manifested a great life for myself, and I want to be very transparent with all of you, because it doesn't do you any good if I'm not transparent. But the things that I've been able to achieve and do, coming from where I started to where I ended up, to me, it's amazing sometimes when I step back and I look at it. I mean, I'll just tell you that when I left the United States 7-8 years ago, even though my life was really good, don't get me wrong, it was getting fantastic. My 20s, whoo, Lord, but my 30s, boy, they were really good. And what I wanted to manifest was a really good life, and I wanted to travel, and I wanted to manifest money, and I wanted to create that space for myself. And when I left the United States, a few years ago, when I filed my taxes, I was below the poverty bracket. Now, I still had to pay like a couple hundred in taxes. Like, I don't know, Uncle Sam, what are you thinking? But I was well below the poverty line. I was only working part-time at the time, but I was making around $16,000 a year. Okay. Not a lot. That's like, I don't know how I kept going. But anyway, I'm now, and this is in transparency, because I want you to see what is possible with your life. Now I live in another country. I work for an amazing organization. I'm working on an international level, and I'm making close to $100,000 a year, like right on the line. If you had told me this, I don't know, 10 years ago, that I'd be living in Australia and that I would finally be bringing in a cash flow that is something that I had only dreamed of, I would have told you were crazy. But it has done nothing but climb. But that is that's mindset. And I know we don't have time to go there. We can deep dive through all of this. I do want any of you, if you have any questions about mindset or manifesting or creating that life or removing and unblocking the obstacles, please reach out. You can go to my website, reach out to me, because I know quite a few. I'm willing to give you as much advice and give you information or answer any questions that you have, and then also even point you in the direction of some mindset coaches. I don't really do the mindset coaching thing, but I just love giving advice. I just love telling everybody everything. God knows I can't. It doesn't stay shut. So anyway, so above and beyond, I've got to keep on track of the time. Okay, so we're 5:30, so it's good. All right, so that's where my life went from here to there. I thought. This is where we're going to talk about the cave and traumas and triggers. I thought, because I had such a handle on my life, now that's called control. We're going to talk about how controlling I am and was. But I had been achieving through my life and been driven to achieve. And I thought because of that I was in such good shape. Like, I had such a horrible childhood. And then, even my early adult years, when I was married to a man who was a drug addict when I was in my early 20s, like I thought, gosh, wow, I'm not damaged. Look at me. I came out of all of it like unscathed, and look at me accomplish things and do things. And look, I've got mindset and I can just make it happen. Y'all, that's not wrong. But this past year, I've discovered something that I want to share with you. Now, when we all went into the COVID cave, like we actually really did go into a COVID cave here in Australia. I mean, boy, oh, things shut down. And when they shut down, all we were left with, I mean, who wants the TV the whole time, right? You know, I was left with this space and me. And for the very first time, taking off that lens of anxiety, society anxiety, and stress and pressure that comes with our high pressure jobs and with our high pressure lives. And for some of you being mothers and being single mothers, or even mothers where there's another parent in the situation, that stress of life. Wow, we were under such stress before. And all of a sudden, there was nothing. There was nothing. There was no work to be done because everything shut down. And all we had to do was sit with ourselves. And for the first time, think about who we were and what we wanted. Who are we when we don't have all of those external fixtures kind of rotating around us all the time? Who are we when we don't have distractions? Because that is what life is. It's participatory, but life is such a distraction. And in 2021, or let's go back to 2019 when it was still normal, it was all a distraction. So when did you have time to be with yourself? When did you just have time to sit with yourself and your emotion and your feelings without being completely distracted? And even in those moments where you might have had quiet, what I found myself doing and what I see so many people doing, that's what we do. We bury our face in social media. And, you know, I'm not averse to the whole TikTok phenomenon. I'm not participating in it, but I sure do like to scroll through and watch it. That's some cray stuff on there. But we're so distracted from who we are, you know? So that is what happened to me these past 2 years. So the journey started, look, even though I knew I had all my stuff together, and I kind of felt like I had a handle and a bead on achieving and on doing. You know, I've been doing some television stuff since I've been in Australia. I'm loving my job. We've got the band stuff going. We're performing. Things are great. My job is stressful, but it's wonderful. But I knew I had a problem. See, I had this little problem, anger. And I don't mean just like, oh, I'm angry today. I mean full on rage anger. Now, could it have been hormonal? Maybe. Might a little bit be hormonal. You ladies know what I'm talking about, like, right? We get a little hormonal as we age. But I knew that there was some anger, that this anger wasn't quite normal. And I knew that it wasn't just because of hormones. My quickness to anger, very, very quick to anger. And I found that my quickness to anger was in situations where either I wasn't being listened to or understood or taken seriously, or when people weren't responding to me as quickly as I thought that they needed to respond. And I'm getting like ragey angry, ragey. In traffic, I know a lot of us do that, but I was judgy and angry. So an example, I'd be sitting in traffic, somebody would be doing something crazy, or I'd see somebody on their phone, and God, I would just like, whoop, I'd just be reading them the riot act, you know, and I don't know them. It doesn't matter. They're not affecting me personally, but why is it my right to get angry so fast and judge them? And what are you doing? Shouldn't you be doing this? Put down that phone. Shouldn't you be driving better? Who gave you your license? Was it a Cracker Jack box? You know, and it was rolling over into colleagues with my job, you know, like very quick to anger if I'm giving out instructions or giving out information and people aren't responding as fast. And as many people who know me, and there are quite a few at the Higher Ed Center who know me, like that's not my personality. My personality is very exuberant and fun and friendly. At least that's the way I see myself, but you know, the way we see ourselves isn't always necessarily true, but that's the way I saw myself, was a very friendly person. So where is this anger coming from? It's not normal. And I realized as I started thinking over time, I used to be a person up in well into my 20s and the marriage that I was in with the abusive husband and the drug addiction and all that. Up till that point in my life, I'd been very, I wouldn't say subservient, but I would say I was definitely a people pleaser. Now, a lot of you ladies know what that's like. We do that, right? We do it for a lot of reasons. We people please because we want to keep the peace. We people please because we want people to like us. We people please, blah, blah, blah. The list just, it just keeps going. So I think for me, it was getting to the bottom of why I'm a people pleaser. Why did I need to control every situation? And why was it getting stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger? It wasn't going away. It wasn't getting better. Being mindful about how I was feeling and being mindful about my need to control. Like I thought I was OCD. I thought I was just a controlling person and that, it's just that I needed order. And I also thought that it was how I had trained myself to deal with my ADHD, was that I needed to have order and I needed things to go a certain way. Imagine my surprise on this journey when I get to the next part and I tell you what I actually found was the problem. Now, we've all heard about triggers. Triggers are, I think that's like the new byword. You're seeing triggers, or I do. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just drawing that word to myself because I've been thinking about and looking at and really studying my own triggers and my own trauma. Let's see, there might be some, let me just check the chat really quick. Okay, great. All right, I thought somebody had asked a question. That's okay, because we will do that in a bit. I will ask for your questions. I'll leave some time at the end. Okay, so we're rolling up on 5:40, 20 minutes. Here we go. All right, so what happened to me is, now, in terms of transparency, I'm going to be really transparent with you. If you can't tell, I am a very earth-based spiritualist. I don't like to use words. What are words? Words are just words, right? So some might call that more of a shamanic pathway, more of an earth-based pathway, more of an indigenous, kind of just the earth-based peoples and those practices is kind of where I've been for about 20 years. I was never a good meditator until the past year. I tried to meditate and I just, off the rails, could never really sit and do it. Now I can tell you, wow, boy, can I meditate. And I've just got it's just beautiful. So about a year and a half ago, using all of the practices and things like that are at my disposal. I'm also a Reiki teacher. I was using Reiki for myself, using Reiki for other people. I was teaching Reiki. So Reiki was an important tool that actually was helping me to unlock quite a few things, and helping me sit and kind of discover where the sources of these angers were coming from. But the other thing that happened, and this was the catalyst for me, and again, this is information. This is weaving a tale for you. This is not, you have to go out and do these things. This is just me sharing my journey that I've been on for the last year and a half to 2 years. So I discovered plant and animal medicine. And for about a year, I did lots of research. I knew it was in my field of vision. I knew I was being called to it, or it was calling to me. And I ended up, the information just somehow, because it's not like you can just readily available go on the internet and find ceremonies and things to attend, especially in Australia. But the information came to me. And so I discovered from the Shipibo tribe in South America, I sat in medicine ceremony with 80 people in a beautiful ceremony that is all night, by the way. You have to be a warrior when you get ready to do this. But I sat with the ayahuasca medicine. It's called grandmother medicine from South America. Now, I don't know, growing up in Appalachia, that I'd ever heard of these things. I didn't know what it was. I didn't have a bead on it, had no idea. But this is a medicine. This is an earth medicine from South America. And the tribes in South America have been using it for hundreds of years. The children participate in these ceremonies as well. And so I knew deep down intuitively for me that I needed to work with this medicine. And it was with trepidation and a bit of fear, but a lot of logic and a lot of study, because I wanted to completely understand what it was that I was getting ready to participate in. So in the past year and a half, I've had my first sit with the medicine. I had my first ceremony in October of 2019. And then the second one in February of 2020, right before COVID hit. And I can tell you with certainty that it was the most life-changing experience, because this anger and trauma that I had, or this anger, was a result of some buried trauma from my childhood. I thought that I had it handled. I had my life handled. I could accomplish anything, that it did not affect me. But it does, because when we bury down, and we have, all of us do this, we bury deep, we tamp down. And especially as Appalachian women, I find that that's kind of the MO, right? Because it can be such a hard life. It can be so difficult. Everybody has been through so very much that we just bury it deep and we keep going. We don't even know that we're doing it. I don't think that it's a conscious thing. I think sometimes, and for me specifically, it was survival mode, right? When we're in survival and we're in fight or flight, which is, by the way, I now know where I was for at least the first 8 years of my life, including those developmental years. I was in fight or flight. I just needed to survive. I needed to find food for myself, usually is how that worked. I had to make sure that I was people pleasing enough so that I didn't get beat. Well, I don't mean to laugh and make fun of this, because it is not fun. It was not funny at all. I'm just saying that I have a new perspective on things. It was keep quiet, don't make any ripples, don't make any waves. Try to get people to accept you and love you and like you so they will keep you, right? Because my birth mother gave me away. Then the first mother that I had kept me for 8 years, or that second mother I had kept me for 8 years, but it was living in pure hell. And then she had enough, and then she gave me away again. So where I discovered this anger was coming from for me, which I found sitting deep in the medicine all night long, living through the void of the pain, because I had set the intention to work with the medicine, to go into my own void, to go inside of myself and my psyche and find the source of the anger, because I knew there had to be a source. And boy, there was a source. That child, and it's still, I'm going to try not to be emotional, because I still, even a year and a half into this, I've discovered a whole new side of myself that is very emotional. And it is just that place in that heart space where I'm still attempting to nurture that inner child. I'd heard for years about doing your inner child work. I'd even known practitioners who would do your inner child work for you. I'm sorry. That may be true, and it could be valid, but I'm now convinced that the only person that can heal you, the only person that can go and pull out that trauma and heal it is you, because this is your body, this is your heart space, it's your spirit, it's your mind. Nobody knows you better than you, but most of the time, even we don't know ourselves. And I certainly discovered that all of these years of being so difficult and negative and hard on myself, and being a warrior, and I just have to plow through, was a result of needing to people please and keep people happy so that they didn't give me away. And do you know that actually translated over into my work? And I noticed it even more when I got here to Australia, because I thought, I really have to prove I don't have a degree. I never completed my degree, so I've got to work 5 times as hard to prove my worth with this company and with these people, so that they know that I have value. So I would go above and beyond and work 7 days a week and not get overtime and just really be. But I realized I was doing all of that just like I had been with my relationships my whole entire life, trying to go above and beyond in relationships so they would see my value. But ladies, I didn't see my value. I didn't see my value. I didn't see me. See what I mean? This is all, whoo. When you start deep diving into that healing, it is some powerful, powerful stuff. And that is where I went with the medicine. I discovered that little girl, it was powerful. She was way down in a dark void. It was in the early hours of morning after sitting with the medicine for 8 hours as the sun was coming up and the songs were being sung that I finally hit bottom void and found her. I found her, this child who was terrified and scared. And I never acknowledged that as a little girl. You know, when you're a child, there was nobody taking care of me or validating me or holding me and telling me that it was okay and that I was going to be okay. I'm so sorry. All that to say this, I found that child and I had to nurture her, and I'm still nurturing her a year later. I'm still working with her. I'm going deep into meditation and I'm healing that hurt, because that isn't something, it doesn't go away in an instant once you find that trauma, once you experience that. Then you're just unleashing it and you begin to heal it. And so we have 10 more minutes. So I'm going to kind of start to wrap up. I wanted to share with you that the some of the tools that have been a part of this journey, this part of recognizing ourselves, looking at what our triggers and traumas are. Once we've recognized them, and then we decide, we set the intention that we're going to go find the root of what those are. What have we buried? Has it been trauma that we've experienced as children? Has it been trauma that we've experienced in our relationships? Has it been trauma? But it's there, right? So we have to go digging for it. So one of the tools that, as I said before, that I had been using is Reiki. And I know that there in the Appalachian Mountains, there are some actual Reiki practitioners there in Abingdon. So I would recommend that you reach out. I'm an advocate for Reiki being used as a personal tool for you. So if you can become attuned to Reiki and begin to use that energetic medicine on yourself, I highly recommend it. The second thing for me that I've used in the past year and a half was the plant and animal medicine. So sitting with grandmother ayahuasca, the sacred plant from South America. Also sitting with Kimbo, which is frog medicine from South America. That stuff is not for the weak. It's a very strong medicine that clears out your lymphatic system. And the third thing that I just recently experienced as I started to move through that journey here in the past, like I think probably about 2 to 3 months ago, was transpersonal massage with a shamanic, again, I'm not crazy about that word, but shamanic practitioner here in Sydney, it was a combination of the Hawaiian tradition of the Lomi Lomi massage in that transpersonal space, which is like a 2.5 hour session. And I found in that session that as I've been working to clear out these blockages and go deep and nurture that child within and start to care for that child, who is me, that I was holding trauma in my body. You would not believe the amount of trauma that you hold in your muscles and in your body. And when that starts to get released, and it's all been this journey of working internally that kind of ended up, 2 months ago with the transpersonal massage, and what came out of me, like just, it was very cleansing and it was very healing. My whole body was just holding so much tension that it's been holding for 43 years. So anyway, there just isn't enough time to talk about all this stuff. So anyway, we're about to wrap up. So, and I don't even know if any of this has made sense. Like I said, it's early in the day. I'm surprised that there were words that were coherent that came out of my mouth. So I want to now ask if there are any questions. Look, if you have any questions about anything I've said today or that you might be curious about, please by all means reach out to me. I am happy to share that information with you. I'm now a huge advocate for plant and animal medicines and for entheogens, and I'm very excited about the work that Johns Hopkins University and even Harvard Medical have been doing in that arena. By the way, both of those universities embrace Reiki, and they are doing some amazing studies with psilocybin and entheogens, working with soldiers and PTSD, that they're curing soldiers' PTSD from Afghanistan. So it's beautiful what this earth has for us and what it can provide for us. But if we don't know that the tools are available and out there, then we don't know that we can access them. I do know that that folks have expressed to me, people who have worked with the medicine for years. And by the way, the shaman who oversees our ceremonies here in Sydney was trained by the Shipibo tribe down in South America, and for about 15 years. And he also is a licensed clinical psychotherapist. I guess that's kind of the word, or clinical whatever. But they say that when you work with these medicines, when you're able, because it takes something strong to unlock something that's so ingrained. If it's buried so deep, it takes something strong. And sitting with this medicine, which I now know to be true, in one night, I achieved what I don't think that I could have achieved in 10 years of therapy. And nothing against therapists. I have therapists who are friends and beautiful people, and I've seen therapists, but I'm just saying for me personally that this was my journey. And so I was able to sit in that cave last year of COVID and process this. I've been processing opening that Pandora's box and sitting in meditation and going in and doing some deep healing for myself. So anyway, so I'm gonna stop there, because I know this would have been a lot to process, and I don't think that any of you all were probably coming to the conference thinking that you were going to be hearing about ayahuasca ceremonies and trauma releasing in that way. So if you're still there, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'm going to turn it over to Penny at the Higher Education Center.